Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Roundtable on Teaching Excellence in Higher Education. I would like to, first of all, thank our guests that will participate in this roundtable, and to just briefly explain that this roundtable is taking place within the Erasmus Plus strategic partnership project called European Network on Teaching Excellence, ENOTE. We've been working for 2 years now on teaching excellence, many debates, many initiatives concerning training, sharing perspectives, and we try to, every country, we have our consortium meeting to try to engage with the local institutions. And so this is what we are proposing this afternoon to do here. We have in this roundtable my colleague Hanne Jensen from the University of Copenhagen that will talk in the name of the project. And then my two vice rectors from the University of Coimbra, Vice Rector Cristina Albuquerque for Academic Affairs, and Vice Rector Claudia Cavadas for Research and Doctoral Studies. I would like to also highlight that we have colleagues here that obviously come from countries and institutions that have a long tradition in terms of promoting and having teaching excellence procedures institutionalized. Our University of Coimbra and the country in itself, the whole of Portugal, we don't have these procedures institutionalized, but we are moving towards those steps. And I have to say, that it is a pleasure to have two vice rectors that actually embrace this. And for us, it was very lucky to have them and have a convergence here of interests between our project and their own institutional initiatives and visions. Before I give them the word, I would also like to ask my colleague, the Vice Dean of the School of Economics, in which this roundtable is taking place, Madalena Duarte. She's the Vice Dean for Academic Affairs and Doctoral Studies, to just give a warming welcome to the table. Thank you.
Do you want me to speak from here? Or?
No,
Okay. So good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of the FEUC board, I would like to welcome you all to this meeting, to this so important meeting, to those of us who are committed to providing excellence in teaching and supervising. I want to start by congratulating the colleagues from the organization, particularly from the Erasmus Plus project and European Network on Teaching Excellence, the ENOTE. We know that teaching has been facing many challenges which we face as a society. The increasing digitalization of society and teaching, constant crises, the pandemics, states of exception, war, among many others that have inevitably a reflection in teaching, either in the contents taught, which obviously require constant updating, or in teaching practices that should seek to meet these challenges, captivating, stimulating, and inspiring our students. These challenges also arise at the level of doctoral supervision. Supervision is recognized as playing a crucial role in the quality of research students' doctoral experience and their academic outcomes, and it is not always clear for us, teachers, supervisors, how to meet the claims for excellence. Take, for example, the difficulties in fieldwork that many doctoral students experienced during the pandemic and for which we as supervisors often had little or no answers. In this way, it is very important that we, as teachers and supervisors, do not feel isolated in facing and dealing with these challenges. Projects such as ENOTE, which aims to map and identify inspiring practices in teaching and doctoral supervision in the European Union, are fundamental. This roundtable will be an excellent occasion to share and discuss the importance of this theme in the University of Coimbra. We therefore welcome this initiative that gives prestige to the Faculty of Economics and the University of Coimbra as a whole, and that clearly is an opportunity to highlight the excellence of the teaching that is practiced here, and that we are always trying to improve certainly allowing us to design strategies and identify opportunities for learning and improvement for the future. So welcome all, and I'm eager to learn for this sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so with these words, we will start with the more juicy sort of interventions, and I will give the word to my colleague Hannah Jensen. I believe, yeah, you can. Perfect.
Okay.
The
Thank you
floor
so
and the
much.
screen are yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me here. As Paula said, I'm going to say a bit about the eNote project, what is that we aim at, and I think I will share my agenda so it will be a little bit easier. The first thing I would like to say something about is that what is teaching excellence? What is excellence in supervision? How do we define that in the eNote project? And I must say that overall, I think that this comes down to that we have to ensure student learning. So, I mean, bottom line is that how can we improve the learning of the students in various ways? Then I should emphasize that teaching excellence is doable, and I will get back to that with some of the examples from the eNote project. And then that how can you implement teaching excellence would be the next point. And furthermore, I think that, of course, there's a lot of challenges, as the Dean mentioned, that we have to cope with. I would emphasize and say a little bit about one of those. I think is the most important, which has something to do with the balance between teaching and research. And the last thing would be to sort of wrap up and say, why is it that we do this in the wider context? So the eNote project, this is, I should say thank you to Joachim Kupps for providing me with some of the slides from the eNote project, but this is the overall objectives of the eNote project that you can see here, that we in the project aim at establishing a foundation for the European approach, how to promote, reward, and some minimum standards of what is teaching excellence across Europe. And this goes both for the BA, MA level, as well as the PhD supervision, as mentioned before. And in relation to the COVID situation we have just experienced, and unfortunately probably not finished with our experience with, we also addressed the teaching excellence in both online and offline context. So what is some of our ambitions? That is to sort of come up with some transparency. And now this is a quotation from the eNote project, more transparency, coherence, and convenience in the field of training, promotion, and rewarding of higher education teaching skills. And what we are aiming at is to develop a blueprint, sort of a setup for how can you do this, and even doesn't matter where you begin. And then we would like to come up with some practice, practice guides for how to do it, and also again depending on where you begin, starts, what is your resources, stuff like that. And we'll come up with some examples of elements in a curriculum for teaching, teacher training, for example, and a self-assessment tool that could be used as well, and some evaluation guidelines. So this is the overall ambitions we have. And hopefully after 3 years, and now it's after 1 more year, we should have reached a sort of a common understanding what is teaching excellence. I'll get back to that in a second, how easy or difficult that is, about how to evaluate, train, and reward teaching excellence. And then we have this ambition again about coming up with a tool for a European certificate of teaching excellence, and this includes doctoral supervision as well. And the last thing would be the sort of a come up with a basis for the recognition of how important it is to talk about teaching excellence and improve and develop and implement all this, hopefully all the way around Europe and maybe even further than that. So, but what is that teaching excellence is? We know that this is a very contested, debated concept. Sorry. So we, as a matter of fact, we do not have the definition of what is teaching excellence. We would say that in some cases it would be what is it that sort of support the student learning in the best way. Again, taking all the context of your local situation into consideration. So this is where you have to depart from. But of course, you could also sort of aim higher, not only have some minimum standards, but say we would like to reach a certain level of something. But again, in any of these cases, you need to have a setup, an institutional environment that support all this. And I will, in a minute, describe how I see all these levels that is in a part of this, talking about what is teaching excellence and how can you support it. And then, of course, another very important thing is that this term teaching excellence is contextual, both in relation to the national everything, but the cultural, societal, economic situation, and also regarding institutional differences. Maybe I should add discipline differences as well, because we have experienced that it doesn't matter whether you are political science or from one of the STEAM disciplines. People come up and say this is different in our field, so you have to take that into consideration as well. And then this is maybe more my approach, but not only my approach, but then you should also think of teaching excellence as a process, as something that you have to sort of push forward and know you have to take it step by step. So you also have to be patient. So this is a sort of a broad definition of a very I wouldn't say fluffy concept, but as I said before, contested concept that should be inclusive. I mean, it should be able to, that everybody can see themselves within this teaching excellence. Not that we all practice teaching excellence necessary, but that we aim at it in some way or the other. And as a have this title, teaching excellence is doable. We can see that from all the best practice examples that we already got. But we can also see there's huge variations across Europe, across disciplines. Again, you can find these differences at all levels. But we have examples of, for example, the British system, which has a mandatory national requirements concerning teaching excellence. You have to take certain courses, stuff like that, and that's mandatory. We have in between systems, which is the BKO in the Dutch system, and the Danish system is something similar, not similar to the. There are differences between the Dutch and the Danish system, but the Danish system is also not mandatory as at the national level as such. It's not a national scheme that is applied to everybody, but all the universities, we have 8 universities in Denmark, all of them have their own teaching and learning and higher education training programs. And for those who are new, either postdocs, assistant professors, stuff like that, they have to go or attend these teaching and learning teacher training courses. And then even in our project group, we have countries with no teacher training almost at all. I mean, so and one of the examples would be the Czech Republic. So this is, I think this is an indication of how huge the variations is. So also getting back to coming up with a blueprint or a standard for teaching, teacher training, teaching excellence across Europe, you still have very much to take into consideration the very different starting points that that people face in different countries. Oh, and this is just an illustration of that one size just fits all. So I mean, this would be the sum up of this doable things that you have to take that into consideration. So how can you do it, and what should you think of when you want to implement teaching excellence in your department or institution? And I think first and foremost, you shouldn't see this as an individual project. It can never be and should never be the individual teacher's responsibility to ensure teaching excellence. Of course, each of us facing the students in the room are the one, we are the doers, but we need some support, and this support should be present at all different kinds of levels that I've tried to illustrate here. I mean, you can talk about the individual level. That's when I walk into this classroom and then I begin teaching. Don't worry, I won't start now. Then you can have course levels where you collaborate with colleagues about a specific course. Human rights in IR, for example. That could be a study program, economics or whatever. Then we have the departmental level where you can also have some strategic discussions about what to do about teaching excellence, how do we support and improve it. And then we have the institutional level. Maybe that's where I should address you. It's more like saying you can, of course, also both have work on different strategies and but also support, think of what is it that can facilitate. For example, should we have, would it be relevant to have some sort of a teacher training, whatever, at our university? That could be a question to discuss. And then I can come up with examples of how this is handled, how both the national and international levels approach this implementation of teaching excellence. But I won't go into that right now. But what I think is important in relation to the implementation is that talking about teaching excellence, you should think of it as a relation. It's a relational thing between, and it implies that you enter into dialogues, and not dialogue between two persons only, but dialogues talk. I mean, you have to talk about this. And to give some examples, you have to talk about it at the student-teacher level. Excellent teaching is not something that, in most, I mean, I think that the examples we do have in our reports shows that it's not when a teacher just deliver a lecture. It's very seldom teaching excellence where students learn, but there needs to be some kind of a dialogue. And this goes again at all levels. Staff members should talk to each other about teaching and teaching excellence to develop this. The staff and management should talk to each other about how can we create an environment that ensures that teaching excellence can be implemented. I mean, I've just a short comment. Now I talk very much about teaching excellence. I think this goes for PhD supervision as well, but I mean, the same elements and structures could be applied to this. But then talking about why is this dialogue and the relational approach is so important? That is that one example is that if we turn to Sweden, they have at the University of Lund, the technical university, they have for at least 25 years, I think, with among others, Torgny Oxo as one implementing this. They have tried to create or recreate the culture about teaching. And what they have succeeded with is that by making or facilitate the beginning of conversations about teaching, they have created new cultures, and they use the concept, we create microcultures where we have this possibility of talking about teaching and the development of teaching. They have real they have figures, and they have figures at the institutional level that can show that this has really developed the students' satisfaction with the teaching. But again, they emphasize this takes time, so you have to be very patient, but you also have to do something and support the things during the process. And they have worked all the way from microcultures to, they have also established, I think they call teaching academies. So a teacher can apply for becoming a member of this teaching academy. And if she succeed, then he or she would get raising the payment. But that's one thing. The other thing is that acknowledgement of this work for teaching excellence as well. But this is just an example, and I know this would be, maybe I should call it, we are in the Rolls Royce or limousine class, but this is just to give an example of that this has been a very long journey. It's a process, and well, you can start tomorrow, so to speak, but I mean, you don't have to wait, but this needs some you have to culture in some way or the other. And then I said that there's lots of challenges to think of when we talk about teaching excellence. And I think that in the reports and the stuff we have worked with so far, we can come up with many. But if we should identify one which is very present, and last week we in the project we had a online training week, and again people is talking about where's the time for this. We would very much like to, because the time is not always allocated to teaching and not allocated to teaching development. What has priority in many cases would be research. And this is not only within the daily life, it's also when we talk about the rewarding and promotion, then there's very few places, unfortunately, where you can sort of get a promotion because of excellent teaching. Whereas it would be the research that would have this priority in any case. It's not that so. I mean, there's countries, and I think that in Denmark we are sort of developing on this, and there's come some new regulations that you have to take the teaching into consideration when we hire people, and today there's also when you are having the talks with the applicants, you pose questions about teaching and their teaching experience. But as one of my colleagues once said, teaching can never give you a position. You can lose one if you're not an excellent teacher. And that's, again, comes down to that research would be giving the first priority. So again, this is, and I mean, this is not only a matter of the individual institution, but of course you can do something on the institutional levels. It's also a matter and a question about how is teaching and research approach more worldwide. So I mean, we don't solve this problem in the project or wherever, but we can sort of try to pay attention, that tell people that you have to pay attention to this as well. So why should we talk about teaching excellence? And here, this PowerPoint is from the Anne Lee presentation. Anne Lee is a developer, a consultant, and very experienced, especially within PhD supervision, I should say. And when she gave her presentation, she emphasized this, and I'm sorry that I didn't have the time to put, master bachelor students, but I think they are as important as PhD students. But what she would say with this, and I would like to finish with, is that talking about teaching excellence, it's also about knowledge, and where do we get the knowledge from? Yeah, we get it from, of course, teaching, but we also get it from research. So how can we sort of put more emphasis on knowledge creation and excellent teaching all the way through the system to ensure our what's called the global knowledge economy, because as many people talk about, knowledge is one of the future things that we have. That's how we can survive all the challenges we have worldwide. And I won't go into any of those because that will take too long. But again, teaching excellence is a contested term, but you should aim at it anyway because you have to ensure student learning, and you should know that it's doable. You have to think of it as something relational, and you have to engage in dialogues to ensure also that there's this environment that can support teaching excellence. And that's where, of course, management is as important as the teachers and the students, I would say. So by these words, I would say thank you for the floor.
Thank you very much. So I will give now the screen and the floor to Vice Rector Christine Albuquerque for
Not the screen.
on the screen.
PowerPoint.
Can we turn that up?
Thank you, Paula, and good afternoon. We are really honored to receive you in our very old university, also innovative, we think, at least. Congratulations to all the members of the consortium of this important project. It's very important to discuss the questions about excellence, innovative, pedagogical innovation, and all the things that are surrounding these concepts, because we need to transform our way of teaching, of learning, and to connect all the systems in Europe and all the conceptions that we have about what is higher education. To all the colleagues that are online, I think there are some people online. They are also with us, and nice to meet you at the distance. So when Paula invited me, she told me speak informally about our perception of pedagogical innovation, what we do in the University of Coimbra. So I took the advice seriously, and I will talk a little bit about our way of thinking these kind of questions. And the first comment is very linked with what you said about what is excellence in higher education. It's a very difficult concept, effectively. It's difficult to define, and it's more difficult to operationalize, because we have a conception about what is higher education and what it could be. So it's very linked with values, with conceptions, perspectives, and also with the context in which we are. So it's very difficult, but it's a way to go forward and to deep and to explore and to reflect. So it's very important, this kind of meetings, workshop, I don't know exactly, but this kind of meetings and projects are very important because they allow us to put in the table the big challenge is how to maintain our universities, our higher education in a challenging and transforming world, how to engage all students, staff, and the academic community in a large way in this transformation. And in fact, in the University of Coimbra, one of the challenges, I don't know if it is concerning with our age, but I don't think so. It's a conception. The big challenge is to understand what is innovation. When we talk about pedagogical innovation, the conception that is linked for most of the teachers is that we are trying to simplify our approaches. It's more easy to give a class more open, more active, with some methodologies that are linked with the dialogue, with practical stuff. So the idea that we are transforming the university in something that the university must not be. So very superficial and very linked with something very simple. We think that pedagogical innovation and all the excellency that we are talking about, it's exactly the opposite. It's to prepare to critical complexity, to understand the world in the connection with all the contexts, with all the subsystems that are linked with the concept of excellency. So what we think about that, it's we consider that an excellent university is mainly, of course, I will not speak about the quality of our teachers, about the quality of the research, that's a fact. But the excellence in the university, in our conception, is very linked with a university that cares. Without paternalism, I am not talking about paternalism, but a university that cares, that is attentive, and that stimulates, and are three main pillars to reflect about innovation and excellence in our conception. A university attentive to students, to staff, to the community, to the academic community globally, to specific needs of some students and some collaborators, and also the teachers. It's very difficult to teachers to adapt to another way of thinking about the way they taught all the time. It's to leave the comfort zone. It's not easy to do that. But also an attentive university to the surrounding contexts. You talked about that, the wide conception of what we teach and what we learn, but also changes on the labor market. It's very challenging currently, and the profile and expectations of students, young students, and also the new publics, the adult students. So we are we are in a very challenging context that is very profoundly associated with the transformation, the global transformation of the world, of society, of the relations between countries and the relations between people. And also a university that stimulates, it's the other pillar, stimulates the curiosity to learn and to explore new ways of knowing, of researching, stimulates innovation and critical complexity. And that implies that in our classes, we don't assure mainly the transmission of knowledge, the knowledge or some information at least are in the social media, in the ordinator, even in the cell phone. The teacher currently must be especially a kind of I don't know how to call it, but they must direct students to the way to understand which information is the most adequately. So it's a new challenge. It's not mainly to give information, is to co-construct knowledge in the classroom. It's not easy because we have a very diverse classroom. People from all around the world, people from different social economic backgrounds. And that implies that we have an international curriculum. An international curriculum, it's not only to speak in English. It's to have some examples from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, or Africa, or bibliographical references from all these kind of countries, that it's an international curriculum. So it's a new challenge for universities. The other challenge is diversity, and to understand that all students have a different perspective, about what we are saying, and what we say, we don't know exactly how it is understood with these backgrounds. So it's very difficult. Maybe being a teacher, it's difficult for all times, but right now we have new procedures, but also new objectives, new ways of thinking about what we do and what we must do and what we must transform. So excellence in our way of thinking about that, it's all this kind of subsystems that are interconnected in a very complex background, a very, very complex puzzle that is very linked with the way we do things, but the way we want to transform. So we are in this kind of reflection in the University of Coimbra. We want to go further and deeply in this kind of questions. We are trying, at least. And for that, we are creating several strategies. I will give you some examples about that, and then we can talk informally, as you said. For instance, we began last year, 2 years ago, I think, some teachers training, some courses in a teaching lab in active methodologies and digital competencies, especially during the pandemic situation, of course. And it was very, very interesting to see the engagement of the teachers. Always the same, always the same group of teachers. So they are the passionate ones. And it was interesting to learn with each other, with some forums and with some kind of changing experiences, and we are trying to profound that right now. We have in the university also some specific digital tools. We created platforms that help us to have resources and manage classes at a distance. For instance, in e-learning courses, we have a lot of e-learning courses, and that helps us to have a more large connection with other students. For instance, in Africa, in the area of international relations, we have that, and even with students that don't have the possibility to be here in the university because they work and they have other ways of conceiving their lives. We have also a very large preoccupation with something that we think it's very linked with excellence in higher education and in teaching, and it's the transversal learning. So to have some subjects, some curricular units that link several disciplinary areas, some scientific areas. So, for instance, science and arts, we are talking about that, to create some approaches that can help our students, either in a BA, MA, or PhD students, to understand more profoundly the world. And the world has complex problems, and it's not adequate in our perception to have a specific approach to something that it's complex. So doing research and thinking about the world that we have in the perspective of economics, for instance, only of economics, it's very limited. So we are trying to create transversal curricular units to bypass that limitation. Also, the internationalization of the curriculum, as I told you before. We have also annual awards for pedagogical innovation for teachers. So we have 5 prizes each year in several domains. more than the prize. It's not very interesting. It's only 1,000 euros, but more than the prize, it's the stimulation of other colleagues to show that something that we do in our class that we think it's very, very little, very not important. It's something that we do naturally. In fact, it's very important for the students, and it's very important to show to other colleagues that we can do something different. And even if it is a little thing, we have connection with that little thing and other little things. So we are trying to build something that it's more large, that it's to multiply some little things with a large conception of what we want to do. We have also a laboratory of design thinking and pedagogical innovation, exactly to stimulate the idea of scientific areas connected, and to respond to some challenges that are social challenges, economic challenges, and cultural challenges that are put by the community, the enterprises, and all the organizations with whom we talk and we work, especially high schools. We think that the innovation excellency in higher education is also very linked with the before, the students that arrive to the university. So we work right now with a lot of high schools to promote creativity, being a university student before being in the university, and to construct with them some projects that we think they are very, very stimulating. For instance, I can give you an example, because we have right now this project ongoing, and it will finish in July. The UC challenges for global sustainability. It's some kind of stimulus about sustainability and how to promote answers, innovative answers to the challenges that were identified linked with the sustainability development goals. But also work with territories, work with enterprises to connect the university to something larger. It's not very good in our perception to have the kind of self-legitimacy of the university, that it's closed in itself. So the university must be open to the world, open to people, and to the stimulus that are around us. But we have some challenges, big challenges that we are facing, and this project, it's very important for us because of that also, to understand the European conception and how to construct something that it's larger, framework that can help us to understand some things. The first challenge, I talked about that already. It's the conception of what is innovation and excellence. Exactly because it's not easy for some teachers, not even for students. I will talk about that a little bit also. But, it's not easy to understand how to promote innovation without losing the sense of higher education. We can talk about that after if you want. A big challenge of engagement of the teachers because of that, and because of the time, and because of the apprenticeship concerning these kind of methodologies, and because they need to leave the comfort zone. When we reflect about that, some teachers tell us I don't have the age to learn other things. I have an experience. I have an experience already too profound to learn to do something else. Not right now. Not right now. I don't need that. I don't want that. So it's not all the teachers, of course. It would be very, very difficult if it was all teachers, not the teachers that we have here, our dear friends. The engagement of students, it's also something that surprised us because, especially in the pandemic situation, we realized that it was difficult for some students to adapt to a digital conception of the classes, the connection with teachers, etc. We have an idea that we are in a very digital bubble. I think we are in a social media bubble, and not in the digital competencies are not very developed, at least not so developed as we thought that they were. And especially the idea of critical analysis of the information, it's not very developed. So it's more easy sometimes for a student to have a teacher that gives them all the subjects already organized, and they can put that in an exam and have a classification in the final. That the other perspective, to work in the class, in the construction of something. So it's a challenge also, and that needs a very close connection and dialogue with students to understand also what are the perspectives they have concerning our teaching, and how to co-construct some perspectives about that. And of course, a big challenge concerning the idea of the university, especially the University of Coimbra, that it's very classical. And transforming a classical university, it's not. I'm being restrictive. Maybe it's the formal thing of the classical. Of course, it's not the humanities perspective. It's the formal conception of the university. It's difficult to the past because we have a lot of rules, a lot of expectations, and that is difficult to the past. But as I said, the European perspective is very important. This kind of reflection and learning with each other, it's very, very, very pertinent. And we are very pleased to have you here, and to help us to understand also the ways to do some things that we are doing, and to build frameworks that can inspire us and can promote the transformation that we want. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hope it will work. Okay. Okay.
So I'll give the floor of the screen now to Vice Rector Claudia Cavadas.
Do you think they can?
Yes, they're
They are
watching it. Yes, somebody is checking. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, thank you for the invitation, Paul and all the team. It is great to be here, and as my colleague said, so we are learning with you, and so this is like very timely. This project that will. So we have this project that will work for us for the university. This is great. So first of all, so I'm Vice Rector for Research, and I share with Christina all these challenges, all these. Perspective. So that's why we are always together, and is even invited when you come both to these events. And we are really, because we think that we have to work together between the teaching and of course research. So in my point, so I'm going to share with you some of the things that we have been doing. I put some a title like doctoral education, doctoral schools. We have to reflect. We have the landscape. I will share with you our landscape and challenges that you all know. So you all know, and you know as much as I do. So in fact, so in terms of the University of Coimbra, so we are a comprehensive university, around 25,000 students, 3,000 around, so it changed every year, 3,000 doctoral candidates, and we have around, always changing, also 70 PhD programs, so doctoral programs. So this is the numbers, and then we have to put them in boxes. So we have faculties, like Faculty of Economics, Faculty of Law. So I don't put the numbers where are the PhD programs, because some of them, fortunately, they are shared between different faculties, and the Faculty of Economics is a good example that share. So we have professors from the Faculty of Economics, Faculty of Law, wherever, and so this is the framework. But in the top of this landscape, we have another one, the one that I also communicate a lot, that is research centers. So the research centers we have in Coimbra, the university, we have 38 research centers. Separated, if you separate it in boxes, related to the areas in health, arts and humanities, social science. So this is a landscape, very, very diverse landscape. And of course, this is important because the doctoral education should be and are very linked to research. So 2 years ago, we never know how to count the name with the pandemic, when was it, but in fact, our rector established that we have to do some organization, try to promote interdisciplinarity in terms of research. And so we have this is like a lab. Our university is a very big lab. So we have 5 strategic areas for research that we name it. So we could, with a comprehensive university, with all the fields, we could join almost in all sense. But in fact, here we are aligned with European Commission, trying to promote people to researchers to communicate, but with the same buzzwords coming from Europe. So this is an experience, of course. So because we have the critical mass, we have the research that can fill all these areas. And at the same time, we have a faculty, or I don't know the name in English, okay? So it's as so important as the Faculty of Economics in terms of the framework of the university, is the Institute for Interdisciplinary Research, that we have to promote interdisciplinary research and also advanced training. So this is like a house that we are promoting this kind of arrangement that are different from the normal and classic faculties. And on top of this, we thought maybe, so we have to also to take advantage of this big quantity and the landscape of doctoral studies to put also together, because the research does not exist without doctoral studies, without doctoral candidates. So in fact, so we did like also 5 doctoral schools that are with exactly the same name as the strategic areas for research. And for that, we have to map. So looking with these 70 PhD programs, in which box do you fit? So we asked to the doctoral programs coordinator. Of course, this is very challenging because some of the doctoral programs could fit in any of these. So, but they have to choose one. So in fact, that in the end, it will be like very weird, because we have like, for example, doctoral schools in heritage, culture, and inclusive society, we have like 40 that say, yes, we are contributing for this. Anyway, so this should be like, this is the first example, this is the first mapping. So now we are working on this. We have to start. So we start like that. So what we are doing now, so we want to, with this time to separate, to break the walls of the faculties. So we have these 5 new boxes. So with these multidisciplinary doctoral schools as a clusters of doctoral programs, we want to stimulate interdisciplinarity. This is the first aim. We want to promote resources sharing between doctoral programs. This is very challenging. To identify and promote new scientific projects, so contributing also for research. to promote the integration of doctoral programs, doctoral candidates and supervisors in international networks, so aligned with our mission to promote internationalization. And these two that I'm going to show in more details to reinforce transferable skills training for doctoral candidates and to promote and share best practice of supervision. So I'm here, I think. So I'm going to show you some examples that we have been doing. In fact, this part of this presentation I presented last week in EUA, so European University Association, in the topic group of doctoral education. So it was very timely. So in fact, this is like a snapshot of our website. As you can see, we always have these 5 colors. It was like a challenge to use colors differently from the colors of the faculties. So we have these 5, and every time that there is like all 5s together, it means that you put everyone together, not separating this box. This is the idea in terms of visual idea. And as you can see here in the bottom, so we have like use, courses and workshops, event, resources, career planning, mentoring, and galleries of photos and so on. So I'm going to talk about only courses and workshops and also supervision. So then only some examples. So as you can see, these are also okay. So for example, in the left, I think it's left. I don't know how it's in Zoom, but art of living. So all the colors, it means that all the students or doctoral candidates can apply for that workshop. So in these workshops, we have 2 kinds of. So we have workshops that we provide. So the university in the top or the Institute for International Research. As we said, we have this course, everyone can come. But the other way, so we have, for example, the one in green that is from the health part. When we say health, it's also a big umbrella. So One Health. So in there we have like 5 vacancies. What does it mean? It means that the PhD program that is promoting this course opened 5 vacancies for other students from other programs. So this is like trying to share this the research that we have. So we have one that gender mainstreaming in research. We're promoting all these kind of things that we do need for our PhD students. So only some numbers, it's not very representative. So since November, so we offer 26 presential, not all of them, so all of them were presential in place. Courses and workshops, it was around 4 per month. We had more than 400 vacancy for students that they apply, they're optional, so they can apply, they can go. And we have more than 600 applications. So all of these courses and workshops, 18 they were related to transferable skills. So training course for that. So since this was for AUA doctoral education Congress meeting, so the title was timing. So I adapt some of these results to when so that's why I put it in. So the students from the first and second year represented 61% of the students. So this is not very representative, but it's only to have an idea. So then we mapped, so we offer this, is it good for the students? So in fact, we select, so the top 3 training courses that they apply. So year 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the colors you can see. So scientific writing, it was in top 3 of the first 3 years, not in the 4. So also communication and time management and procreative. So 30%. So it's very interesting. We have more numbers. This is like a snapshot to show how. So it's very interesting how the challenge and opportunities in international funding, top 1 in second year and also in year 4. So of course we have to think about this. We have to have more numbers, but I think it's only to show you, to share with you. Then we asked, why did you apply for these extra courses? In fact, so they said that the motivation was more skills improvement, prepare for future professional challenge, acquire knowledge. So, and of course we asked, did they like? They said yes. Okay. Anyway, so then we asked, what about the transferable skills? The perception? This is only perception. So if they acquired transferable skills and the skills they wish, doctoral, so the PhD students, they wish to acquire. So this was a big debate. The list of transferable skills, what should we use? In fact, we used the based Vita Research Development Framework of UK. But then I thought maybe we should use Aerodoc. So, but anyway, there is a list of transferable skills that you can ask. And so when we asked, of course, the survey was really small, so this is not representative, but anyway, I think it's interesting to analyze. So when we ask, when we apply this survey about transferable skills, most of the students from that heritage, culture, and inclusive society answered. So we've less in the digital industry and spaces, so we don't know if they answer because they really like. So this is, of course, this is bias already. Anyway, so, but and when we asked about the perception of acquired skills during the doctoral studies, they said doctoral studies not only in doctoral school, so during their time in university, during doctoral studies. So they said critical thinking, analyzing, okay, it's okay, very cognitive abilities, and of course, perseverance, the third, so personal qualities, research strategy, hopefully, and collaboration. I think it's interesting to analyze this data in more detail. Then we ask about the transferable skills that they obtained in last year. They said around 60% that they said yes, last year we did something related to transferable skills, and 70% said it was from doctoral schools. Of course, this is really the worst. That it was the answer that we do need to continue. So it's like a reward. So then we ask the perception that the skills that they want to acquire, they wish. So it's for the future. Career management. So this is very interesting. Work-life balance. So this is not a surprise, but communication methods, critical thinking. This is interesting. Critical thinking, they say they obtain, they say they want more, and financial management. So I think this is more career development, self-management, and communication skills. So now let's think about, even if the data is not very wide, I think that this kind of organization, these 5 boxes, the boxes that are leaky between them, these are multidisciplinary doctoral schools as a clusters of PhD programs. It was very interesting to see the students from different fields together in the same room, sharing also things related to supervision. So it was really very relevant, and the diversity inside of the room was amazing. So it was a reflection of the diversity of the university inside of a small room. So in fact, these doctoral schools as a clusters of PhD programs outside the walls of the faculties support doctoral candidates in their doctoral journey. So we have to think about the organization. So we have to continue this organization. The doctoral candidates, the number, the type. So are these aligned with all the doctoral candidates? The type and the format that offer, all of them should be in place, should be open also online. Communication, should we communicate with the students? So in the end, in the beginning, we have almost always the same students. They want to come. So then we said, no, each student, only one workshop. So in some of them, I never knew nothing about this. So it's the way of communication is really relevant. The involvement of the supervisors. So we didn't involve much the supervisors. We said we sent only to the students, and hopefully the supervisors don't say nothing, but I think we have to involve them more. If they are all optional, should we put some mandatory, and when during the year, and even the time of the day? Because some of the PhD students that are working, so they say, during the morning I cannot apply, I cannot be. So I think we have also the timing for the student and the timing of the day. Of course, we have to evaluate the impact seriously and to measure the acquired transferable skills. How can we measure that? It's like a perception. Are they really acquiring some transferable skills? So this is ongoing. I hope you can help us in the end of this project to help us in these questions. What about, so this is the same, about doctoral supervision. So you asked me to talk a little bit about this. Of course, as Anna said, so also as a teaching excellence, this is like an individual group, institutional, so we have the different layers. Of course, all of us, we have been, at least we are students, you are supervisee, so all of us, we are supervisors, so we have always an individual framework, a group framework, and an institutional framework. So now when Paula and the colleagues invited me, I said, "Oh, I have already talked about this." So I used to give a seminar in doctoral programs about how to be the best PhD student. So, and I put it the other way around. So I had the time to reflect about this, to think about this, and I put. So that's why I have some these cartoons about this. Of course, we have different ways of being supervisor. We know, and you know better than me. And of course, sometimes the expectation is different from the reality. And of course, the expectation from the student, the time that the team of supervisors give to the students is different from. So, in fact, expectation and reality is different from both sides, from the side of the student, from the side of supervisor, and also from the side of the institution. So this is, I think, should be like we have to have a match with this expectation. This is, I'm not going to read this because this is one thing that I really love to share with the students. I took it from the blog, I don't know. So the 11 things that irritate the supervisor. So this is very interesting because it was the way that you can share the expectations of the supervisors for the first years of the student. So, and the first one is disappear. So we hate when the student disappear. So, and there is a lot, so I can share with you this. I think it's very important to share with the students things that they should at least not avoid, but mitigate, I think. So in terms of doctoral schools, so we are starting. So to promote and share the best practices supervision. So we have seminars. So we started, in fact, in February with the first seminar online with Isabel Louette that shared. This was the first thing. We had a lot of people attending, I think more than 100. So they said, wow. And they said, we want more, we want more. I said, yes. Wait, we'll have more. Of course, we announced the doctoral training as ours, you say. We put it in the website of the university, this is ours. Of course, put it because it's all the names of the institutions there. And we'll have, in the 19th of July, we have the first doctoral supervision best practice course, and we will do it only for 25 colleagues in a palace outside the Queen. So let's start. So we have only 25 vacancies. We have already more than 50 applicants. So now there's another challenge. How should we select? So I don't know. So we discussed that before. Should we start like when we open only for the new supervisors, the new? Said, but maybe you don't have enough. I don't know. We open. Let's see. So I don't know the list. Let's see who is going to. But we have to repeat again for sure. And so about these kind of things that we should think about, the things that for sure you have already think about. You have discussed more than myself for sure. So that we know the doctoral supervision is key for the successful doctoral candidate. So this we have to be really. If everything fails, if this fails, it's really a problem. So we have to invest in doctoral supervision. So should we have like a supervisor or should we have a team of supervisors? So the new best practice said we should not have one, we should have more than one. This is also a challenge because sometimes there is like a conflict between, but the team for sure is better. So in my background, I'm more used to have a team because this biomedical field is so technical oriented that we do need expertise from another one. So I think this is a good example. And also in Institute for Interdisciplinary Research, since they are very interdisciplinary, we always have at least two different fields. So how should you name the PhD student? So this was, I also learned this in EUA meeting. So I had all my slides in PhD student. They said, nobody now call them PhD students. They said, oh my God. In fact, then I realized, but why? So they are doctoral candidates or early researchers. So this is, we have to change all our our website in the university. Of course, this is important that the doctoral candidate should be in research environment. So this is a key for the success and to develop more research. And of course, especially it will be important that she's a research environment, international and diverse. This is the framework that we'd like to have. The diversity of the scientific areas, so the expectations from the students and supervisors are influenced by scientific areas. I'm not going to discuss this. The diversity of doctoral candidates, we already talked about a little bit about that. So the age, so at the University of Coimbra, as in others, so we have PhD students or doctoral candidates from 24 years old until 80 years old. So this is so they are very different. Nationality,
87.
culture.
87.
87.
87.
87. Okay. So you see that. So it's different. So it's less numbers. The one that I already talked with, different expectations from the doctoral candidates, supervisor, and the institutions. We have to repeat about conflict and power relations. Dropout of doctoral candidates. This is an issue for everyone. It's an issue. It's a problem for the institution, for the faculties, and for the person, for the student that we have to discuss about this. The new supervisor, who should be a new supervisor? How should we give support to the new supervisors? And of course, the things that you are doing here, and that I would like to acknowledge again, the project, the need of sharing best practice and to not to repeat the things that are not good. And of course, as Anna said, one size does not fit all. We know this is the word. And so just also to say to you that next week we'll have the first meeting of doctoral schools that Paula will talk. And also there will be Alexandra Asgal from Doctoral Education European University Association that will come, and also Rosemary Dean that will talk about doctoral invisibility of the doctorates, and other colleagues from the university that will share good practice. And that's it.
Thank you so much. So we'd like to thank for those that have been following us online. We will now conclude the roundtable public part, and we will switch to a discussion, Chatham House rules indoors. Thank you so much.